Hi everyone, welcome back to Kristen's Epic Adventures. Today, we're going to build a character from scratch. We're going to go through it together and we're going to create a Half-Orc Barbarian at level 1. So make sure you subscribe, hit the notification bell if you want to be notified when our new videos are up. And if you found this content helpful, give us a thumbs up so more friends can find us. Hey everyone, welcome back. So today we're going to build a level 1 character from scratch. I've got my dice box with 4 d6s. I've got a pencil. I've got a blank character sheet and my player's handbook. So we're going to create today, I thought we would make a Half-Orc Barbarian from scratch. And I can show you guys what it's like to create a character from scratch in D&D. It's really easy. Don't forget you can also use D&D Beyond and make your characters online and then print out their character sheets after, which is a really cool idea. Sometimes though, I really like doing it old school and taking a pencil and the character sheet and some dice and doing everything from scratch. So let's jump right in and make that Half-Orc Barbarian. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is I have a spot on my character sheet here for my player name. So that's me. So I'm going to write Kristen in there because I'm the one playing this Half-Orc Barbarian. So in the player's handbook, first we're going to look up the characteristics for a Half-Orc. Then we're going to move on to the characteristics for a Barbarian, and we're going to pick a background for them as well and add that in. We're going to figure out all the stats for our ability scores and also for our weapons and any special abilities we have. So let's jump right in. First thing, I am going to go to the races in the player's handbook, and I am going to find the Half-Orc. I thought these would be in alphabetical order, which is how my OCD likes it, but okay. Half-Orc. Half-Orc is on page 40 of the player's handbook, and basically because we've chosen the race of Half-Orc, it's going to give us some statistics that we need to fill in on our sheet. It kind of has a little bit of background about the Half-Orcs. Now, a Half-Orc is a character that is half orc and half human. Their two parents are human and orc. Whether you want to do a orc mother and a human father in your backstory or the opposite, totally up to you. It gives you a little bit of basics about half-orcs. They are typically, it says, between 5 and 7 feet tall, usually weigh between 180 and 250. Let's see. And it actually has background saying that a one-eyed god created the orcs. So there's some really cool, interesting backstory about the races in here as well. But to create our character and get our character going, first I don't know, should we choose a name first or should we build one first and kind of pick a name after? I'm gonna pick a name at the end. You can do it any way you want, but I'm gonna pick a name at the end. So, Half-Orc Traits on page 41 tells us that if you are an orc, your strength score is gonna go up by 2 and your constitution goes up by 1. You'll remember from one of the previous videos that there are 6 core stats that make up any D&D character. You have strength, dexterity, constitution, intelligence, wisdom, and charisma. Those are your 6 base stats that we're going to roll for. There's a few different ways you can come up with those, but today we're going to choose a rolling method, and we're going to roll up stats. So, since I haven't rolled yet, what I'm going to first do is next to the box where I would record my strength, I'm just going to write off to the side +2 so that I remember to add 2 to that. Okay, and now my constitution goes up 1. So next to constitution in the margin here, I'm just going to write a +1, and that's because I'm a half-orc. And once I have the full scores in there, I'll probably just go back and erase those, but just as a reminder to me. Okay, it says half-orcs mature faster than humans. They reach adulthood around 14. They age faster and rarely live to be past 75. So things like your height, your weight, your age are all kind of up to you as part of like your character development or your backstory. There is a separate sheet where you can record that stuff, but for now we're just going to stick with recording the basics of our character to get him ready, to get him or her ready to play. Okay, it talks about alignment, but we're not going to deal with alignment in this quick build. Speed. Now your speed is how fast you can walk. Some creatures are larger than others. So obviously if you have short little legs, you can't walk as fast. So, but larger creatures can walk faster. We have a base walking speed, it says, of 30 feet. So in the center of the character sheet here, I have a box that says speed, and I'm going to put 30 feet in there. Okay. So I have to make sure I record that because part of your turn is movement. So you need to know how much speed you have. Now, the next thing it says I get for being a half-orc is dark vision. This is pretty cool. This is a trait that a lot of different races have, but not all of them. And this is ability to see in very dim light or the dark, which is pretty cool. Often it has to do with your bloodline, and if you like were some races that were raised underground have this kind of a feature. This one says due to your orc blood, because remember I'm half orc, half human. Humans do not have dark vision, but because half of me is orc, I have dark vision. So I can see in dim light within 60 feet as if it were bright light, and in darkness as if it was dim light. Now you can't make out color, just shades of gray, but that's very handy to have depending on where your adventure is taking place. Maybe some of the other party members don't see in the dark or dim light very well, but I will be able to. So there is a section on the character sheet to write down your features and traits, and that is an orc trait. What I'm going to do is actually just write dark vision and write page 41 so that I know if I need to refer back to what dark vision is, I can go to page 41 of the player's handbook. So I'm just going to write dark vision, page 41. Again, if you do this in D&D Beyond and then you print out your character sheet, I believe it actually has a full description of what dark vision is. Or at least it put the page numbers in there for you. I honestly can't remember. I'll have to look it up and I'll let you know in the description down below. Now, another trait of being a half-orc is a trait called menacing, which gives me proficiency in the intimidation skill. Now, down the left-hand side, we have our 6 basic ability scores, but each of those scores affect this list next to it of different skills. We have all sorts of skills that our character might be good at or bad at, and there's little circles, kind of like when you take a standardized test for the SATs and you fill in the little ovals, there's little circles next to each one. So what I'm going to do at first, because we haven't rolled for our scores yet, is I'm just going to darken in the circle if it tells me I'm proficient. So I am proficient in the skill of intimidation, and these are in alphabetical order. So I'm going to go down to intimidation and just darken in that circle. Okay, that's going to remind me when I calculate the bonuses that I'm really good at intimidating. Okay, I have another trait called relentless endurance. That is when I'm reduced to 0 hit points, but not completely killed. I can drop to 1 hit point instead, which is a great feature, and it's specific to half-orcs. But you can only use that feature once per long rest. So that means I need to keep track of whether or not I've used it. And once I've used it, I have to do a long rest, which is an 8-hour rest for the character in the game to get that ability back. So again, under the traits, I'm going to write Relentless Endurance, page 41. Okay. The next thing I also get for a half-orc is Savage Attacks, which states that if I make a critical hit with a melee weapon, now I don't know if you remember, but a critical hit is rolling that d20 to see if you hit or not and rolling a 20. The maximum you can roll, that's called a critical hit. So if I score a critical hit with a melee weapon, I can roll one of the weapon's damage dice 1 additional time and add it. So it means I get to do extra damage when I crit because I'm a half-orc. So I'm going to write Savage Attacks. also page 41. Okay, then there's a section of languages. And in the bottom left corner of the sheet down here, there's a section for other proficiencies in languages. So I'm going to write down that I can speak, read, and write Common and Orc. I'm just going to write Common, Orc. Those are the languages that I speak. Okay? And those are our basic traits and adjustments for choosing the Half-Orc. So the next thing we're going to do is flip to the classes and find our Barbarian. And now make note of everything that we get for being a Barbarian. Okay, so Barbarian is on page 46 of the player's handbook. It kind of explains that Barbarians are not only your basic fighter, but they have like this huge courage in the face of danger. They're much more tough than your traditional fighter to be a Barbarian. So we have a chart in here that explains what you get, what different features you get at each Barbarian level. But today we're just making a first level Barbarian. So we only need to be concerned with the very first row of the chart. And like I said, that's on page 47. Each class has a chart of the different features that they get at each level. So first, the chart tells us that our proficiency bonus at level 1 is +2. There is a section up here, kind of next to the strength score, for your proficiency bonus. Every class gets a bonus at different levels. It increases. And so I'm going to write +2 in here for my proficiency bonus. That refers to all these skills that I've filled in the circle that I'm proficient at. And a few other things too, like attacking. So basically levels 1 and 2 of Barbarian, actually no, 1, 2, 3, and 4 is all +2. This proficiency bonus will not change to a +3 until I get to 5th level. But right now that means anything I'm proficient in, I get to add 2 more points to, which is pretty cool. Now the next feature it gives me is Rage. That's one of the features of a Barbarian, is you get to rage. So I'm going to write down Rage. And the information about Rage is on page 48. And basically what a rage is it says, in battle you fight with primal ferocity. On your turn you can enter a rage as a bonus action. So that's really important. I'm going to put rage in parentheses. I'm going to put bonus action. On your turn, you basically have a movement and action. Some classes will allow you to have different bonus actions. Not everybody has them. It depends on your level and your class. And sometimes you have reactions. So it's really important for me to remember that that is a bonus action. And all these different things you can do on your turn can be done in any order. So what raging does, it allows my Barbarian to have advantage on strength checks and strength saves. If I make a melee attack, I get to add a bonus to the damage roll, which is also on the chart. So for a level 1 Barbarian, I can rage twice per long rest, I believe. Yep. As you increase in levels, you will get more rages and it will do more damage. So at a level 1, I get 2 rages. Actually, yeah, I'm going to put 2 times per long rest. And that's something you'll have to keep track of on your character sheet, that you just might want to maybe make a couple boxes to check off, or at least make a little tick mark somewhere so you remember how many times you've raged. And then when you long rest, you can erase them so you know you can do it again. And right now at level 1, my rage damage is +2. So if I choose to rage and then do an attack, I actually get to add 2 more damage if I hit, which is awesome. The other thing I get, also while raging, I have resistance to bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage. So each of the different weapons come with a different type of damage, which you will also have recorded on your sheet. If you get attacked by something, the Dungeon Master will tell you which type of damage hurt you. And if I have resistance to bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage, that means I only have to take half. A resistance means you only take half damage. If you're actually immune to a certain type of damage, means you don't take any. But the same goes for monsters. Monsters have a lot of these same features as well. Resistance to this type of damage or that type of damage. So I need to know that as well. So I'm also going to write next to rage that it's on page 48. Pretty sure DnD Beyond will put more of a description. If you have some really tiny handwriting, you could go in and actually write all the information about rage in here. I just personally don't have super tiny handwriting to fit it all, so I'm going to put page numbers. Okay. Now, basics on the rage is that it lasts for 1 minute, but if you're knocked unconscious, or if your turn ends and you didn't attack anyone or take any damage, it will also end. Or you can choose to end it yourself. So that's important to know as well. So I'm also going to put 1 minute, just so I don't always have to look that up. And remember that a rage lasts for 1 minute. But if your whole turn goes by and you don't attack anyone and you don't take any damage, your rage is going to end by itself. Okay, so the other feature I get as a barbarian is Unarmored Defense. Unarmored Defense, which is also on page 48. And what that is a special feature for a barbarian that if I don't have any armor on, my armor class is 10 plus my dex modifier plus my constitution modifier. Normally someone's armor class, if they're not wearing any armor, I think is just, it's 10 plus one of those. I can't remember which. It's either 10 plus your dex or 10 plus your con. I can't remember. Somebody let me know. Maybe it's your strength. I don't even remember right now. But barbarians, because they have unarmored defense, they actually get to add their dex and their con to 10. I don't have those numbers yet because we haven't rolled. So I'm going to put AC, which is armor class, equals 10 plus dex plus con. So I remember when I fill the armor class in. And that's how easy or how difficult it is for someone to hit you. Okay. Now there's a lot of other features in here that barbarians get, but there's things that they get at higher levels. So we don't need to worry about any of those right now because we're just making a first level barbarian. Okay. Some additional class features. It's going to give us information about our hit points. How many hit points we're going to start the game with. So a barbarian uses a 12-sided die as their hit dice. Different classes use different dice. Some use a D6, a D8, a D10, a D12. I believe D12 is the highest that a barbarian gets. That means in between when you take short rests and you want to roll to get some hit points back, the barbarian would use a 12-sided die to get some hit dice back. So there's a section pretty much almost right in the center column, about right in the center for your hit dice and your total. There's also a spot for current hit points and temporary hit points. Those are different. So we're not going to put anything in there yet. But in the little box that says hit dice, we're just going to write 1d12. Okay? And it's per barbarian level. So at higher levels, you get more d12s. But for first level, 1d12. Okay? And then it tells you to start your hit points at first level is going to be 12 plus your constitution modifier, which we don't know yet because we haven't rolled. So up in the current hit point box, I'm just going to write 12 plus con. And once I know it and I put that in, I'll erase that. Okay. Now what we have next is a list of proficiencies. Each class is good at doing different things, which kind of makes sense, right? So a barbarian is proficient at light armor, medium armor, and shields. Now there's also heavy armor, but there's no heavy armor proficiency in here. So our barbarian, and I'm going to write that in the box where I wrote the languages because it said other proficiencies and languages. So I'm going to write that I'm proficient in light armor, medium armor, and shields. There's also then tools. There's different tools available in this game, but a barbarian has proficiency in none of them. No tool proficiency, so I don't have to write that down. Next comes my proficiencies in saving throws. And right next to our 6 core abilities, there's a little saving throw box with the different abilities written again. So I'm going to darken in that little circle for the strength saving throw and the constitution saving throw. Now remember, that means when I fill in one of those little circles and I transfer my modifier over here, I get to mathematically add the proficiency bonus because I filled in the little circle. It means I'm even better at it. Okay? Now, a barbarian, it gives you a list of skills that you get to pick 2 from. There's actually 6 skills listed, and it says choose any 2. So this is where you get to kind of customize your character a little bit, which is pretty cool. I can choose from animal handling, athletics, intimidation, nature, perception, and survival. Now, I already have proficiency in intimidation just from being a half-orc. So you can't like double up on your proficiencies to add the bonus twice or anything. So I'm not going to choose that. I'm also not going to choose, you know what? I'm going to choose nature and perception. Perception is good for like searching the area or looking around and seeing what you notice. Not really searching specifically because that's more investigation. But perception is more like I glance around and what do I perceive? Things you notice. And then nature is good if you're trying to like, well, I was going to say track animals, but that's actually survival. Nature is good if you're like, you're out in the woods and you're hungry and you're going to see if you can like find some berries or maybe even like look for some deer to hunt or something. It's kind of up to your DM which skills you use for which, but I'm going to choose perception. So I'm going to darken in that circle. And then I'm also going to choose nature. So I'm going to darken in that one. Okay. Now, the next page also gives me some starting equipment. Each class gives you some basic starting equipment for your character. There's a couple different ways you can do this. I've also seen a class can give you a starting gold amount if your DM wants to do it that way, and you can literally go to the equipment section and shop and pick out anything you want. Some people like to do it that way. A lot of times though, especially making level 1 characters for beginners, I really suggest just sticking with the starting equipment. And I have noticed a lot of DMs do stick to that as a general rule. Like, hey, please don't just take all the money and go wild and buy whatever and get all these weird, crazy things. Just stick with the starting equipment. So that's what we're going to do with this as well. In the center bottom box down here, there's a section for equipment. So a barbarian gets to start with, and there are some choices in here so you can customize. I get either a great axe or any martial melee weapon. So there's a whole chart of martial melee weapons, but for ease, I think I'm just going to go with that great axe. To me, a half-orc barbarian wielding a big giant great axe sounds pretty cool. So actually, because that's a weapon, I'm not going to write it under equipment. I'm going to put it up under the attacks section, which is right above that. So I'm going to put great axe. And I should have brought my pencil sharpener because these pencils dull down really quick. Okay, so I'm going to pick a great axe. Then I can either pick 2 hand axes or any simple weapon off the list. I'm going to stick with the 2 hand axes. Now you could either make write hand axe times 2. I'm actually, I think, going to write... Actually, I'm going to write hand axe twice, and I'll tell you why in a minute. And lastly, I can either have an explorer's pack or 2 javelins. Off the top of my head, I can't remember what's in an explorer's pack. There's all sorts of cool different equipment packs. In D&D, you can have like a explorer's pack, a dungeoneer's pack, you know, this, that. And it comes with a bunch of other things in it. But since I already have a great axe and 2 hand axes, I don't think I really want another weapon. So I think I'm going to go with the explorer's pack. So down under equipment, I'm going to write explorer's pack. And when we get to that part of the book, I'll write down what's in the explorer's pack. Ores pack. Okay, so that's my basic starting equipment for being a barbarian. I'm also going to fill in the top here the class and level and the race. So class and level, I'm going to write barbarian. Nope. Yep. Confusing myself. Barbarian 1, I'm going to put because I'm first level. Race is half-orc. I can't spell. Half-orc. Let's see. Next up would be my background. Now, each of these classes has a little quick build feature, right? Where it suggests, like, if you want to make a really good barbarian, once you roll your scores, this is what we suggest you put your high ones in. But then it also says choose the Outlander background. So I figured let's go with that. So I'm going to put down under background Outlander. An Outlander is somebody who kind of grew up in the wilds, away from civilization, so they're used to nature and those kind of things. It might be like a nomad or an explorer, a hunter-gatherer. So that gives us some more skill proficiencies, tool proficiencies, things like that. So according to this, we also have proficiencies in athletics and survival. So I'm going to go ahead and color in the little circles next to athletics and survival, so I remember to add my proficiency bonus. This I thought was kind of interesting. I get a proficiency in one type of musical instrument. And I can't say as I can really picture my Half-Orc Barbarian playing a musical instrument, but this might be a really fun way to work something different into their backstory. So I'm going to just write down under other proficiencies, one musical instrument. I'm not going to pick one right this second, but I will pick one. I also get one more language of my choice, which is pretty cool. And I think I'm actually going to go with Elvish. And I will work away into my backstory for my Half-Orc Barbarian to somehow know Elvish. So I'm going to add that to my list of languages. Now there's a few more equipment pieces I get on here too for choosing the Outlander background. I get a staff. I'll write that down. A hunting trap. A lot of these things might come in handy just in role-playing. Okay. A trophy from an animal I killed. I'm going to say that I have a bear's tooth. A set of traveler's clothes. And a pouch containing 10 gold. Down in the equipment section, there are some little side boxes to record your money. So under the one that says GP for gold pieces, I'm going to put 10 because I have 10, starting with 10 gold. Okay, so we have now, let's see. Now an Outlander, also it says you can consider their origin, where they came from. There's a table here with some ideas of different origins, but it's also, there's 10 different ones. So it does tell you that if you want something totally random, you can just roll a 10-sided die and take whichever one you get. So that's what, oh, I didn't bring a 10-sided die. Let me see. I have a 10-sided die back here. We will find one in this handy dice bag. If I can find a 10. That's a 10. All right, so let's roll a 10-sided die and see what origin we come up with. 5. Ooh, an exile or an outcast. Ooh. So I'm going to write, which one? Outcast. I'm going to write up under my background that I'm an outcast Outlander. And that's another thing I can work into my backstory, you know, maybe why he was outcast. Maybe that has something to do with why he knows Elvish. Okay. Another feature, there's some features here of an Outlander. One of them is that they have an excellent memory for maps and geography. So I can always recall the general layout of terrain, settlements, and features around me. In addition, I can find fresh food and water for me and up to 5 other people each day, provided the land offers berries, small game, water, and so forth. So under features and traits, maybe down the bottom, since it's because of my background and not something major, I'm going to write Wanderer. Page 136, because that's where the Outlander background is. So that's kind of cool. And then it just has some suggested characteristics. That Outlanders are often considered rude and uncouth among civilized folk and have little respect for the niceties of life in the city. So that might help me with my role playing a little bit too, that I get to kind of be a little crass and rude and don't like the niceties of the city. That's kind of fun. Let's see. So the next step we've filled in everything we get from being a half-orc. We've filled in everything we get from being a barbarian and now from an outcast outlander. So the next thing, real quick too, on the side here, there's some other little boxes also for an outlander. Kind of the way it is in real life, you have an opportunity to choose a personality trait, an ideal, a bond, and a flaw. So each background has a list of, 6 to 8 different ones in each category. You can make up your own completely on a whim of whatever you want. You can choose something off of the list, or you can roll. I'm not going to actually go through picking any of those right now for our personality, the ideal, the bond, and a flaw. It's kind of just like life, right? We all have a major personality traits. We have a flaw. But it just kind of adds additional role-playing information if you want to, act true to your character. So next thing we're going to do then is let's actually roll up our stats, okay? So remember again, we have six core abilities: strength, dexterity, constitution, intelligence, wisdom, and charisma. Now, building a barbarian for a quick build, it did tell me that I should put my highest score in strength with my second highest in constitution, and then it just was kind of like, go ahead and put the rest wherever you see fit. So the way that we roll for ability scores is we take 4 6-sided dice, roll them, take away the lowest one, and then add the remaining 3 together, and we do that 6 times. There's also the point buy system or the standard array, which you could also do, and they're explained in the book. But for this character build, we're going to do the rolling for scores, which personally is what I find the most fun. So let's make 6 different rolls. I'm just going to jot them down at the top of the sheet and maybe, just erase them later until I decide where they're going to go. So let's go ahead and roll up some scores. Okay. Ooh, that was actually a pretty good roll. 6, 6, 4, 4. So we're going to remove one of the 4s. So 12, 16 for our first one. That's pretty good. Okay, so 16. We're going to do this 6 times. Ooh, 1, 1, 3, 5. So we're going to take one of the 1s away. And we got a total of 9. Okay. Third roll. 1, 3, 3, 6. So we're going to take away the 1. So 12 is our next one. 3 more. 1, 3, 3, 4. So again, remove the 1. 3, 3, 4 is 10. Okay, roll number 5. 2, 3, 3, 6. So we'll take out the 2. And another 12. And last roll. 2, 4, 4, 5. So we'll take out the 2. 13 for our last one. Okay, so we ended up with a 16, 9, 12, 10, 12, 13 for our 6 ability scores. So, being a half-orc barbarians, it suggested you put your highest score in strength. My highest score I rolled was a 16. You'll remember I also have a +2 to my strength for being a half-orc. So in the strength box then, instead of a 16, I'm going to write 18. That's my total. I'm going to take the 16 from the dice roll plus the 2 bonus I got for being a half-orc. So now I have a strength of 18, which is really good. Our second, I'm going to cross off the 16 here. Okay, so our second highest score, it suggested we put in our constitution, which is a good idea because that actually affects how many hit points you start with. And barbarians are supposed to be really tough, so they should start with a lot of hit points. So my next highest was I had 2 12s. So I'm going to take one of the 12s. I have a +1 for being a half-orc, so I'm going to write a 13 in the box. Cross off one of the 12s. Now, basically, the rest of them, I can use wherever I want. I have Dex, Intelligence, Wisdom, and Charisma left. My lowest is a 9. But I'm also going to look here at the things I got proficiencies in. Athletics is based on strength. Intimidation is based on charisma. Now, perception, I'm proficient in. That's based on wisdom. Nature is based off of intelligence. And survival is also based off of wisdom. So I think I want to put my other 12 in wisdom because I have 2 other scores and I'm going to be able to add my proficiency bonus in. Oh, shoot, I had a 13. Hold on, back up. This is why you do your character sheets in pencil, although I have been known to do a few in pen. I used my 12 for Constitution and I should have used my 13. So a 13 for Constitution plus 1 would be 14 and cross off that. Sorry, my bad. Okay, so I had 2 12s. So based on the things I'm proficient in, I think I'm going to use them for wisdom and intelligence. So wisdom, 12, and I don't have any more modifiers for these at the moment, so it's just a straight 12, and intelligence 12. So what I have left is a 9 and a 10. So I think I'm going to put my 10 in Dex, just because dexterity can affect some things sometimes, like trying to jump out of the way of things or whatever. And a 10 is just an average score, so it's really not that good, but a 9 is even worse. So I think I'm going to put my 10 in Dex, and I'm going to put my 9 in Charisma. My Half-Orc Barbarian is not very charismatic, but that's okay. This is what's so fun about role-playing games, is it really makes, you could see all the different personality traits of your character starting to come through here. Okay, so now that I added in those modifiers for being a half-orc on the side there, I'm probably just going to go ahead and erase them. Okay. Now, what I need to do is figure out the modifiers for these. Now, in your player's handbook, way at the beginning on creating a character, there's a chart for the ability scores and their modifiers, and that is on page 13, okay? And basically, like I said, a 10, 11, because everything's based on a scale of 1 to 20, 10 and 11 is average. So you get no modifier for that. It's just plus 0. So anything that I have at 9 or 10, I'm just going to put a modifier of 0. So that would be my charisma, and my dex have a modifier of 0. Now, anything above the 10 gives you a plus modifier. Anything below the 10 gives you a minus. Or anything actually, no, sorry. Yeah, below the 10. So my 9 in charisma is not a 0 modifier. It's a -1. So I have a -1 in charisma. Oh boy. Okay. And a 0 modifier in dex. Okay. So I'm just going to consult the chart. So for a 12, I get +1. So my intelligence is at +1. My wisdom is at +1. My constitution is a 14. That's +2. And my strength at an 18 is actually a +4. That's really good. Okay. So down the side here, I just have filled in the regular number in the tiny box and the modifier in the big box. You can do them opposite if you want. There's no rule that says you have to put one number in one spot and one number in the other. Okay. So now, because I have all my ability modifiers, and I know my proficiency bonus at level 1 is a +2, I'm going to go through and I'm going to fill in the modifiers I get for saving throws and the modifiers I get for all my skills. Okay? So under the saving throws, right, the first one is strength, and I am proficient in strength saving throws. So normally my strength is a +4, but because I'm proficient, I add my bonus of 2. So actually, it's a +6. My dexterity had no bonus, so that's 0. My constitution, I also am proficient in, so that was a 14, so it was +2, plus the proficiency bonus for a total of 4. My intelligence was +1. my wisdom was +1, and my charisma was -1. So those are my saving throw scores, okay? So anytime the DM asks me to make a saving throw of a certain type, I'm going to roll a d20, and I'm going to either add or subtract the numbers I have written down there to come up with the final score. And then I'll let him or her know what I got, and they'll tell me the result. So the next section, which is all the skills, which are in alphabetical order, and it tells you which ability it is based off of. Acrobatics is Dex, and I am not proficient, so 0. Animal handling is Wisdom, not proficient, so 1. Arcana is Intelligence, not proficient, so 1. Athletics is based off of Strength, which my Barbarian is great at, +4, and I'm proficient, so it's a 6. Deception is Charisma, so -1. History is based off of Intelligence, so 1. Insight's based off of Wisdom, so 1. Intimidation is based off of, oh no, Charisma. And I have proficiency in Intimidation because I'm a half-orc, but I put my lowest score in Charisma, which was what Intimidation is based off of. So I started a -1, I get my proficiency bonus of 2, so my Intimidation is just a 1. Okay, Investigation is based off of Intelligence, so 1. Medicine is based off of Wisdom, so 1. Nature is based off of Intelligence, and I'm proficient, so 1 plus my modifier of 2 for a total of 3. Perception, which is Wisdom, 1, and proficient, 2 for a total of 3. Performance is Charisma, -1. I should not try to sing to anybody or play my musical instrument. Oh my gosh, remember I'm proficient in a musical instrument, but my performance skill is -1. I guess I shouldn't try to actually play for anybody, but this could make for some really, really fun role-playing opportunities. Okay, Persuasion is also Charisma, -1. Religion is Intelligence, +1. Sleight of Hand is Dex, which is 0. Guess I won't be trying to pickpocket anybody. Or it might be funny to try and just see how I do. Stealth is Dex, so 0. And Survival is Wisdom, which I am proficient in. So 1 for the Wisdom, 2 for the Proficiency, for a total of 3. Okay, so that is how we're going to fill in all our skills and our saving throws. Now we have our modifiers for anything that the Dungeon Master is going to ask us to roll. The other thing I need to do is figure out my armor class, right? That's how easy or how difficult it is to hit me in battle. So because I have Unarmored Defense for being a Barbarian, my armor class is going to be 10 plus my Dex modifier, which is 0, plus my Constitution modifier, which is +2. So 10 plus 2. Whew. I would have thought I would have had a higher armor class for being a Barbarian, but maybe along the way I'll have to pick up a shield, which adds another +2, or some armor at some point. But right now I'm starting with 10 plus 0 plus 2, so I have an armor class of 12. So any creature that rolls a 12 or higher can hit me. All right, now we also need to figure out our current hit points, how many hit points we're starting the game with. And remember, our hit die is a 12-sided die, and you always start at level 1 with the highest roll possible on the die, so a 12, plus our Constitution modifier, which is a +2. So I'm going to start the game with 14 hit points. And I'm going to erase my little note. Okay. The other thing we need to figure out is our initiative. I think I mentioned in a previous video, initiative is what order you get to go in battle, and it's actually based off of your dexterity score. So it's a bonus number that you write in. Whenever you roll for initiative, you roll a d20, and you add your initiative bonus, which is your dex bonus, and mine is 0. So my initiative is +0. So mine will just always be a straight roll there. Okay, so the only thing I still have not written down yet is what we get for attacks, what comes in our Explorer's pack. So I need to go up under the equipment section. We are almost done with this character. This is how easy this is. Especially when you follow the quick build, but you don't have to. You can literally make your character anything you want. If you want to make something that's totally not typical, go right for it. It might be kind of funny. As long as the rest of your party and the group that you're playing with is cool with it. Because some people really like to play in a well-balanced party. So they have, someone who's going to do a lot of damage, someone who's going to heal people, someone who's going to cast spells. But hey, if you want to make a gnome, which is tiny, barbarian, go for it. Let's see. Also, I believe for being a half-orc, I forgot to write down that our size, I think, is medium. Halfling, human. Where are you hiding? Half-orc. Size, medium. That's on a separate page where you can write down like your age, your height, your weight, your eye color, your skin color, your hair color. But for size, I'm going to write down medium. That can make a difference depending on like the size of your weapons or how you can fit through spaces where other people are. So that's good to know too, that you have a medium size. So I am trying to get past the classes here. That's our backgrounds. And into the equipment. Here we go. So I can write down, I don't have any armor, but remember I have a great axe and I have 2 hand axes. So there is a chart on page 149 with all your different weapons. Depending on the weapon you choose, depends what type of damage it does and what die you get to roll. It looks like our weapons go everywhere from a D4 for something simple as a dart, which means the most damage it could do is 4. All the way up to a D12 for some of the bigger weapons. So this is why you need to consult this chart, and we're going to write down right in the middle here on our attacks. I wrote down the 3 different weapons I have, and we're going to calculate attack bonuses and how much damage they do. Now, I'm looking at the chart. I'm going to find the great axe, which is under martial melee weapons. And it's going to tell me that it does 1d12 slashing damage. Okay. So under the damage type, which is the second column, I'm going to write 1d12 slashing. I'm going to leave a little space, and then I'm just going to write SL for slashing. Again, I write big, so if you write tiny, you might fit it better. But 1d12, and I'm going to leave a space, and I'm going to put SL dot for slashing. And I'm leaving a space because I'm going to be allowed to put a bonus in there. And this is why as your characters level up and these 6 core stats change, it affects things differently on different people's character sheets. Okay? So when I attack with my great axe, a great axe is a heavy 2-handed weapon. So that means if I want to attack with my great axe, it takes 2 hands. So I cannot have a great axe in one hand and another weapon in the other hand. A great axe is big and it requires 2 hands. Okay? So the previous page has all the different, what all those different words mean. Heavy, melee, all of that. So it's a melee weapon. So someone has to be in the square right next to me or right next to me to be able to hit within 5 feet. Now, a heavy weapon just means that if you're a small-sized creature, you can't use that weapon very well because it's a little too heavy for you. So you would have disadvantage on attacks with heavy weapons. Remember, I just said my size was medium, so I'm perfectly fine using heavy weapons, okay? And it was heavy and 2-handed, so that's okay too. It just means I need to remember I can't have a great axe in one hand and something else in the other hand. So the way we determine bonuses, light armor, medium armor, shields, I did not write down any proficiencies in weapons, did I? Because I need to know if I am proficient. Here we go. A barbarian is proficient in simple weapons and martial weapons. So basically the weapons are broken into different categories. The great axe is a martial melee weapon. So because I am proficient at martial weapons, I am proficient in my great axe. I'm just going to put a dot next to it so I know. And then I also have 2 hand axes, which are simple melee weapons, and I'm also proficient at simple weapons. So the 3 weapons I have, I am proficient in. This matters because it means I get to add my proficiency bonus when I attack. So also, because these are melee weapons and the hand axes have the property of being thrown, okay, if you imagine if you have a little hand axe, you can either chop right at somebody or you could throw it at them, you know, like when you go axe throwing, right? So the thrown property means I also get to add my strength modifier. So the thing with melee weapons, because you're swinging maybe a great axe and you're using all your strength to hit, you add your strength modifier. So I have a +4 for my strength, and I'm proficient in great axes, so I get to add my +2 proficiency bonus. So I actually have an attack bonus of +6. Okay? So anytime I attack with my great axe, I'm going to roll a d20 and add 6. The dungeon master is going to compare that number to that creature's armor class and tell me if I hit. Now, the damage is a 12-sided die plus my strength modifier again. So the damage is 1d12 plus 4, so that's why I left a space. So now I'm going to write in there, great axe, attack bonus +6, damage and type 1d12 plus 4, slashing. Okay? Now my hand axe, where is my hand axe? Right here, does only 1d6. So I'm going to write 1d6. And that is also slashing. So I'm going to do my little SL after a space. And I'm proficient in that as well. So that's also going to be, because it's thrown. Thrown says you use your strength modifier again, because it all kind of depends on how hard I can throw it. So strength modifier +4. I'm proficient at it. I'm really good at it, so +2. So my hand axe is also +6 to hit. Now, the reason I wrote my hand axe in here twice is not just because I have 2 of them, but because I could actually slash at somebody right next to me, or I could throw it at somebody across the room. So because it has the thrown property, it tells me on the chart it has 2 ranges. Someone has to be within range for you to throw a weapon at them. So under the bottom hand axe, I'm just going to write thrown, and I'm going to write 20/60 because that's my range. The first number is for a normal attack. If I want to throw my hand axe at somebody, they need to be within 20 feet. The second number is like a long range, and that's a 60. So that means I can throw my hand axe at somebody up to 60 feet away, but it's going to be at disadvantage. I have to roll 2 d20s, take the lower number, okay? So I'm going to write those down, and that's if it's thrown. So the bonus is still going to be, the damage bonus is still going to be my strength modifier, and I am proficient in it. Oh, but you don't add the proficient. You add the proficiency to the attack roll, but not to the damage. So +4, +4. So all 3 of my weapons do a +6 attack bonus and +4 damage bonus, but the great axe, I get to roll a d12, and the hand axes, I only roll d6s. Okay, so now we've got our attacks figured out with our different weapons. But one last thing I want to add in is there is a rule about two-handed fighting with a light weapon. Now, my hand axes are considered light. That means they don't weigh very much. And because I have 2, now I can put 1 in each hand. I could come at somebody with a hand axe in each hand, like a crazy barbarian. So what it does is it says ideal to use when fighting with 2 weapons. And then I'm going to move to chapter 9 under the combat rules and let you know what that is. 2-weapon fighting on page 195. And I'm just going to write that under features and traits just so that I don't forget about it. It's not something I get for being a half-orc or for being a barbarian. It's something that anybody can do if they have 2 light weapons, 1 in each hand. Okay, so that's 2-weapon fighting. And I'm going to write page 195. So what that means is if I choose to attack with a light melee weapon in one hand, I can use a bonus action to attack with a light melee weapon in the other hand. The difference is you don't add your ability modifier to the damage of the bonus attack. So you get to add all the modifiers on the first one. The second one, because you're additionally doing a bonus attack, it's just the straight die roll for damage without the bonus. But that's one of the advantages of having two light weapons, is you can do regular attack, bonus attack. I'm just going to write 2 weapon fighting, page 195, bonus action, second attack. Okay, everybody, our Half-Orc Barbarian is just about done. I did find on page 151 the contents of the Explorer Pack. So down under the equipment, I wrote that down. So that includes a backpack, a bedroll, a mess kit, a tinderbox, 10 torches, 10 days of rations and a water skin, and 50 feet of rope. So I wrote all those things down under my equipment. The other thing we need is a name. There is a really cool website called Fantasy Name Generator that you can go to generate fantasy names with a click of a mouse, which comes up with some pretty cool names. The Player's Handbook also has name suggestions. So I'm going to go back to the page here for Half-Orc and find it. There we go. And there are suggestions for male and female orc names. These are first names. Well, they could be first names or last names. I don't know. I'm actually just going to pick one and use it as a first name. My barbarian half-orc is going to be a female. And I'm going to go with Emin. Emin that they suggest in here. E-M-E-N. Emin, the half-orc outcast Outlander Barbarian. Okay? So, the only thing I don't have on here yet is, my passive perception. I do need to figure that out. Passive perception kind of has to do with, excuse me, your ability to notice things without saying that you're going to try to check for things. The Dungeon Master will a lot of times use it to let you know what you notice about an area when you first walk into it. Or if you notice a creature hiding up in a tree or something without you saying, I want to search for this, I want to search for that, and him or her saying, make a perception check. It's a passive skill. It's not you actively searching for something. It's your passive ability to notice things. And I'm going to take a second here to flip to the index because I always forget where they have put how to calculate your passive perception. Perception. It's a wisdom skill, so see wisdom. Okay. Let's see. The only complaint I have about this book, 2 complaints. The index typeface is so small, and the page numbers are in like a light gray, and they're so hard for the visually challenged to see. It drives me crazy. Okay, wisdom. W-I-S. Where are you hiding? Wisdom. 178. Let's try that. Passive checks. A character's total for a passive check. 10 plus all the modifiers that would normally apply to that check. For example, if a first level character has a wisdom of 15 and proficiency in perception, they have a passive perception score of 14. Okay, so 10 plus your wisdom modifier. My wisdom modifier is 1, so my passive perception is 11. Okay, so we've got that. Now, when you go to the back of the player's handbook, the character sheet is actually 3 pages, but you don't necessarily need them all. This page is for spellcasters, keeping track of all the spells they know in their spell slots, so my barbarian does not need that. And then the second page here, again, just has things like your age, your height, what color your eyes are, what color your skin is, what color your hair is. So it's kind of optional. If you would like to fill this stuff out, you certainly can. It has character appearance, where you can write out what your character looks like, but you can also draw your character in this space if you're a good artist, or you could even find a picture like on Pinterest that you really like and cut it out and paste it in there as well. It does have a little spot for your backstory, and it has a place to write down any treasure you find as your adventure. So you may need these 2 sheets to begin with, but again, most of our information is on this very first sheet where we put all our stats. So that's about it. That's our Half-Orc Outlander Barbarian level 1, Emin. I wonder what she looks like. Oh, as a half-orc, she's got those cool tusks that stick out from the bottom. Oh, maybe she has like a greenish, bluish skin and tusks, and maybe she's a little older. Maybe she's like 50 and has long silvery hair. This is where you really get to shine and come out with these different ideas for your character. So let me know, guys, what you thought of this video. This was us making a Half-Orc Barbarian at level 1. We can certainly make some other first level characters together, and maybe even try to see what it's like to make a character of a higher level to start with. But to start playing out in your first adventure, you're probably going to want a level 1. So make sure you subscribe to our channel. Hit that notification bell so you know when our new videos are up. And if you liked this video and enjoyed the content, give us a thumbs up, give us a like so more friends can find us. Thanks, everybody.